I guess I'm just going to read half of a Christmas story because it is Christmas coming up. But I made it into an audiobook, and I wrote it. I think I wrote that one at the one above the wine shop, this story. And I made it into an audiobook with sound effects and music. And it's about the horse track, because I used to write a lot of stories out at the horse track as well. But if you buy anything at all at the store tonight, you get a free Jockey's Christmas. The tale of an...
Christmas, after all.
Yeah. It's a story about an overweight alcoholic jockey who comes home for Christmas. And all his mother and sisters they just want to feed him. And as you know, as a jockey, that ain't the way. So, and like Renee, sadly, much of this is autobiographical, which is slightly pathetic, as you will soon see. I went to the airport to catch a flight to see my family for Christmas, but I was drunk and had been drunk for a couple days, and I forgot my bag of clothes in the back seat of my friend's car. He left me at the curb at the airport baggage claim and drove off. He was drunk too, and his car was full of trash, and he was stoned. Now, I don't get stoned, but he was a real degenerate about it, so he probably wouldn't notice the bag until I got back in town and grabbed it. It was 2 days before Christmas, and I had no clothes. The only things I had with me were a Zane Grey novel and $600 to buy presents with. It was 10 a.m. when the plane landed, and I took the taxi to the Cal Neva Casino. My dad worked near it downtown, and I was supposed to meet him for lunch at this Chinese place at 1 o'clock. So I had a few hours to kill and sat down at a roulette table, drank tequila and orange juice, and ended up losing $550 by 12:45. As you can imagine, I was pretty down in the dumps. I could barely even look at myself when I'd walk past those big mirrors casinos have. And then when I saw my dad and he saw the shape I was in, I got worse. I could hardly talk. I just nursed a beer, tried to eat, and bought him lunch. Well, it's nice of you to offer, JD, but you don't look like you got a buck to your name, and here you're buying me lunch. Well, I feel like it's the least I could do. Are you still living in Houston? Like I said on the phone, I live in Phoenix. I've been at Turf Paradise for the last year. Anyway, I can't keep the weight off, so my ride's dried up. It's a bitch for me to just get under 125 anymore. I ended up spending 3 hours a day in a sweat box just to get down to 120. Jesus, you're small enough, he said. So what are you going to do now? I don't know. Uncle Bob and me are going to move up to Oregon and try it there. So it's the same old story with you and him. I guess it is. Well, at least you can eat now. But I've been trying so long to keep the weight off that food doesn't mean a thing to me. And how's your drinking? Same as usual. And yours? Margie said she'd leave me, so I've been going to AA meetings. Did they help? They help enough, he said and smiled. So how long are you going to be in town this time? Well, we're leaving the day after Christmas. Well, will you come up to the house and see Margie and visit? Sure, I told him, but I knew I never would. Oh, I wish you could do it. I hate that I never got to know you three. I laughed and finished my beer. Hell, man, we lived down the street from you for 15 years. I know, he said. And we sat there silent for a while, and it was really uncomfortable and depressing. And then he stood up, and lunch was over, and he went back to work. I walked around downtown for a half hour or so, drank a beer, then took a taxi to my mom's house. By the time I paid the driver, I had $5, and it was just after 2 p.m. There was no one in her house, so I went in, laid down on the couch, and began watching TV. And then an overwhelming sense of failure landed on me. My mom would be home in 3 hours. My sisters would be coming in tomorrow with their families and boyfriends, and I had no presents, no change of clothes, and no job. I got up and went into my mom's closet and found her hidden roll of vacation money in the same old 70s ski park as she kept it in. And I took $300 and went into the kitchen and found a bottle of tequila and drank a third of it and called a cab that took me back to the Cal Neva Casino where I lost it in 2 hours. I had to call my mom from a payphone. Mom, I said, I'm in town. Oh, you said you weren't going to make it this year, but I knew in my heart you would. Frances and her new boyfriend are coming, and Carrie and Todd and the kids will be here. and they'll be all so glad to see you. Where are you now? Are you at the house? No, I'm just downtown. I saw a movie, and I was wondering if you could come get me when you got off of work. Sure, sweetie, she said. And we made arrangements, and I hung up the phone. She had put a pot roast in a crock pot that morning, and after she changed from her work clothes, she threw in the carrots and potatoes and set the table. I sat on the couch and watched TV and nursed a couple beers while she went about her chores. She cleaned the house and made up the beds in the guest room and wrote out a grocery list. Then she lit a couple candles, opened a bottle of wine, and we sat down to eat. So how is your Uncle Bobby? Well, two of our best 3-year-olds, Bode and the owner, Vance James, pulled out and went with Foster, so we sold off the rest, and Bob's living in his trailer. And after the holidays, we're moving up to Oregon to work at a place he's got an inn at. Oh, Jesus, I should have never let you around him. He ain't so bad. But can you still make the weight? Not really, I said. Well, at least you can stop sitting in the sweatbox. At least you can start eating again. It ain't so bad in the sweatbox, I told her. So you're really going to give it up, she asked hopefully. Well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't run out on Uncle Bob. He ain't what he used to be, you know. He's a bit clouded, if you know what I mean. Is he still drinking? A little. And you seem to be doing a pretty good goddamn job of it yourself. Bob and me, we'll be all right. We just got to get on our feet again. Well, at least you can eat now. I looked at the food, but I couldn't touch it. You used to love my pot roast. I still do, I said. I'll eat some tomorrow. I just bet you will, she said, and shook her head. And she didn't say anything more the whole dinner, but you could tell she was pretty upset. When I woke up the next morning, it was past 10 o'clock, and my sister Carrie was there with her second husband, Todd, and their 3 kids. The kids were running around, and I was on the couch with a blanket over me, and the TV was on, and my sister came to me with a cup of coffee. Oh, my God, you look terrible, she said and smiled. She gave me a hug and sat up. Your face looks better, though. It doesn't look as gaunt. You don't look like you're starving yourself so much. Well, it's good to see you, too, I said, and took the coffee. Do you remember my kids? She yelled for them to come over, and they came, and she reintroduced me to them, and then they went back to running around, and I got in the shower and cleaned up. When I got out, I went to the kitchen, and Todd, her husband, was there talking to one of the kids. Well, hell, J.D., he said when he saw me, how you been? All right, I told him. My sister came up to me and hugged me. I can't believe we'll all be together tonight, she said. Speaking of which, Todd said, it's about an hour till post time at Santa Anita, and I was hoping I could steal your brother so we could go downtown and catch up. You're not serious, are you? My sister said. Well, how often do I get to see J.D., he said. You know he's my favorite relative. I stood there silent while they went back and forth about it. Jesus, just come back in one piece, my sister said finally. Then she looked around and whispered, we got a kid here, huh? Jeez. And for Pete's sake, don't be like last time. I mean, it's almost Christmas. She gave him a look, but even so, he just went to her and kissed her, found his coat, the keys, and the next thing I knew, we were driving downtown. Well, hell, that tip you gave me at Turf Paradise, Jesus, I made $3,000, Todd said, and hit the steering wheel with his hand. Well, once in a while they come in, I told him. What about today? Today? Do you have any tips for today? Jesus, I'm all out of everything, including tips, I told him. Well, at least you can drink beer now. At least you don't have to starve yourself. I nodded and looked out the window. He parked his truck at the old turf club. As he got out, I said, Todd, I just can't go in there. I just can't. Well, what's the problem, J.D.? Well, I'm on a losing streak, and I'm worse than flat broke. But you go in. Just leave the keys if you don't mind. I wouldn't mind listening to the radio. Geez, J.D., how much you need? Don't do it. You'd just be throwing your money away. Like I said, that tip you gave me, that was something else besides your family. And it's Christmas, ain't it? Plus, I hate gambling alone. Anyway, I can put you up for today. And maybe we'll get lucky. He started laughing at that, and like a bum, I followed him in. We sat in the back and chewed Copenhagen and drank beers, and I lost $300 he gave me, and he lost another $400 of his own. I thought you said you knew that trainer, he said at the end. Well, I did, but that doesn't mean the horse will come in. I told you I don't bet long shots. God damn, that was rough. Carrie's going to kick the hell out of me. Well, after she buries you, she'll find me, I said, and tried to smile. You know, JD, she can be mean as hell. I know, I've seen that side, I told him. Look, how about we go to a bar and wait just before it's dinner, he said. Well, I did save a 20 from the dough you got me, just in case. Well, I knew there was a reason I liked you, he said, and patted me on the back, and we walked down the street and to a bar, and we sat in the back in the dark in a booth. Well, I know it ain't right for me to be talking, because she's your sister and everything, but Christ, JD, who do I tell? Well, what's eating at you, Todd? Well, it's like this, he said, and then he began spilling his guts out all over the place. Well, I'm going to stop there because it looks pretty bleak for old JD. But you know, it is a Christmas story, and so you should buy something from the store, and then you'll get the CD, and you'll find out how he becomes a champion of economic success. And well, anyway, thank you for having your bookstore. It's so nice of you, and it's talk about a humanitarian effort and altruism. So
It's a
you're
lot.
yep.